think Big Meech, like, told on somebody to get out, snitched, did anything extra?
No. Let me tell you why. Big Meech paperwork is public records. There is no proof that Big Meech said, hey, bust him, bust him, bust him. Big Meech, bro, I ain't gonna lie. That man got to that compound and man, he had some of the guys I would never think that would get EMF, ENT on the left side of their neck, man.
In here with a 27-year sentence based on Demetrius Flannery, as you all know as Big Meech, and Tammy Cowens, known in the paperwork as CS1.
Right.
Confidential source 1. So what Big Meech did was called a third-party cooperation.
Cohen is a government informant. So they tell me, he says, you know what this is about? And I said, no. He said, well, you threatened a government informant, and that's a federal.
Y'all, things just got wild. Federal inmate Terrence Gangster Williams, who did serious time right alongside Big Meech, is stepping out the shadows and shutting the whole internet down. He's calling out 50 Cent's explosive claims that Meech snitched, and Gangster isn't holding back. Not only is he slamming 50's accusations, but he's spilling that Meech was basically running the prison like a straight-up kingpin. Imagine that. Locked up, but still the boss.
You know, it's selective politics and it's selective who they gonna call a rat or who they're not gonna call a rat in this industry. So we've been saying this since I've been home.
Gangster didn't just say it, he painted the picture. He said every inmate showed Meech nothing but straight up respect. No beef, no side eyes, just pure loyalty and admiration. Now with this bombshell out, folks are straight up giving 50 Cent the side eye. Like, is this really about Meech allegedly being a snitch? Or is 50 just feeling some type of way because Meech linked up with Rick Ross and left him cold and bitter? Hold tight, because we're about to break down everything Gangster exposed about Meech's real life behind bars. Apparently, an old interview resurfaced where New Orleans street legend Terrence Gangster Williams laid it all out. He didn't just say Meech was respected, he said Big Meech was calling the shots inside prison like a real don.
Big Meech, bro, I ain't gonna lie. That man got to that compound and man, he had some of the guys I would never think that would get EMF, ENT on the left side of their neck, man. It was tattooed, and he made it clear, he said, listen, I'm not giving nobody no connect, I'm not hooking nobody up with nothing, I'm not doing nothing when y'all go home. So, in other words, you know, people try to get with him just for, you know, the games, you know, for me, let it be known, look, I ain't got nothing, nobody. I'm in jail doing my bid, that's what it is, you know what I'm saying? So,
Gangster described it so vividly. Dudes were literally lining up to follow Meech like he was royalty just walking through the yard. No threats, no flexing, just pure influence, real respect. Meech had that aura. Wherever he stepped, the vibe shifted. And y'all, it gets even crazier.
Man, bro, I literally remember 25 guys after lunch will go to that rec yard with Big Meech. They're gonna take over the weight power, they're gonna work out, they're gonna hit the weights, do their little workout, and then after that, Big Meech gonna, whoever got the wine, he gonna bottle the wine up, whoever's cooking food, he gonna bottle the food up, and he gonna sit in the cell or hang out and just talk war stories, just talk about on the streets, man. He was a very good, humble dude, man. Very humble.
Believe it or not, Big Meech actually had a real shot at busting out and getting back to living that millionaire lifestyle before the feds locked things down completely. But guess what? He didn't fold. He stayed solid. He chose to ride out his time like a real one instead of risking it all. We're about to dive deeper into that wild escape story. It's insane. But first, let's clear up this whole messy snitching situation.
Do you think Big Meech, like, told on somebody to get out, snitched, did anything extra?
No. Let me tell you why. Big Meech paperwork is public records. There is no proof that Big Meech said, hey, bust him, bust him, bust him. Now, the situation with the lady Tammy, the female that he cool with or whatever, mess with whatever, I was having an argument with somebody about this last night. Now, if we go by prison rules and standards, Big Meech didn't sit down with the agents and say, hey, my bro gonna go ahead and settle boy up for me, so make sure y'all give me the credit. So we couldn't make a move on him because his name not in the paperwork for saying ultimately.
So everybody knows 50 Cent's been out here screaming from the rooftops that Meech turned informant based on some claims from his old associate, Tammy Cowan. But when Gangster got pressed about it, man, he wasn't buying none of that nonsense. He straight up said he doubts Meech ever snitched. Period.
Everybody's shining like new money. There ain't no other crew like this in the world, and there never will be another. Not black. It never will be, because they said that if like this is shining all together, being together, doing shit every day, then they gonna fall out over some money or somebody gonna rob, steal, and kill. I have yet to see that. All of us get along.
And he didn't stop there. Gangster low-key threw some heavy shots at the industry too. He said it loud and clear. A lot of these industry dudes pick and choose who they want to label as snitches, and it's all cap once the real truth comes out. It's all just a big, messy game. To really understand how this snitching drama even started, we gotta rewind way back to the beginning, to the rise and crash of BMF. That's where all this tension started and why Meech ended up buried under a brutal 30-year sentence. And yo, get this, Meech had the perfect opportunity to escape it all before the walls closed in.
I couldn't do it. If I was for self, I could have did that. I could have grabbed a bunch of millions and been on somewhere where you can't be extradited. But that wasn't what I was out for. I've already played the legal game to the fullest. So now I was trying to legitimize me and the whole family. I mean, I was 37 years old when I got picked up, so I was slowing down anyway, as far as I was getting kind of tired. But when you the face of the family, that's the one thing that I was starting to learn. Even at 37 years old, even though I'm feeling old, I've been doing it so long, like I was getting kind of tired. You know me, I'm popping pills, smoking weed, drinking and partying, freaking, getting money, got whips going up and down the road. I'm doing everything to try to make this family successful, and everything we do look big.
He could have dipped out, fled overseas, and lived the good life. But he didn't. He stood 10 toes down and faced the heat like a real soldier. That move alone earned him major respect on the streets, but it also planted the seeds for this messy drama we're watching now. 50 Cent running around, pushing these snitching claims, stirring the pot every chance he gets. It's deeper than beef, y'all. It's history. Let's take it even further back, to the birth of BMF. The Black Mafia family came alive in 1985 in Southwest Detroit, built from the ground up by the Flannery brothers, Demetrius Big Meech Flannery and Terry Southwest T Flannery. They weren't just hustling, they were moving like they had VIP access straight to the top, connected heavy with the biggest Mexican coke suppliers in the game, and they moved fast.
Meech chartered a commercial flight for hundreds of people, and Meech paid for everybody. It was a full-on party in the sky.
I've seen the movie Soul Plane. It was like Soul Plane.
Yeah.
Meech had everything set up. Everything was set up for us to party.
They leveled up through a family-owned car service that made everything look clean and legit on the outside. But on the inside, it was an empire in the making. By the early 2000s, BMF had the streets and the club scene locked down. Flashy, loud, untouchable. They built a whole entertainment empire. But behind the scenes, they were moving major weight. At their peak, BMF had 500 members coast to coast, all making serious money moves.
For every place we stay at, LA, Atlanta, Detroit, we have homes, our own homes. We don't have to go in and rent. We got our own houses, we got our own cars, we got our own hoes, we got our own clothes. You know what I'm saying? And we can't be stopped. I don't see nobody stop. I don't see none to come after us either. None. Nobody will never do this again. If this many niggas and this much money can't get.
But don't get it twisted. Meech and T didn't just wake up bosses. They fought bloody turf wars, crushed rivals, and paid the price in blood. T took a bullet to the right eye back in the late 80s, leaving him partially blind for life. Meech, he got popped twice. Once in the neck outside a Chinese spot in the 80s, and again in 2004 outside a wild Atlanta club scene, catching one in the backside. And that second shooting? It wasn't random. It all popped off after beef with Anthony Wolf Jones, Diddy's ex-bodyguard. Meech walked away. Wolf and another man, not so lucky, they didn't make it out that night, but beyond the shootouts and heavy street politics, BMF lived the ultra-luxury life.
Leaning on the counter laughing because we're drunk as hell. He's like, man, Yogi, my ass is burning. I'm like, what? He's like, man, I think I got shot in the ass. And sure enough,
we're talking 13 multi-million-dollar cribs scattered across the country, a full fleet of foreign whips shining like trophies. Designer closets so packed it would make your head spin. And of course, Meech had that exclusive hookup with Jacob the jeweler, rocking the iciest custom pieces the streets had ever seen. When Meech pulled up, everybody stared. Everybody.
There when it was changed, exactly. And they caught it. Okay, we're gonna do this party. We're gonna have the tigers and the lions, and you know what I'm saying, elephants and stuff. All you know, like we never seen that type of stuff. Like you can say what you want to say, you know what I'm saying, about, but that type of stuff you only seen in movies, and you didn't even see that in movies. Yeah. Like for real, not no black people really doing it like that. You know what I mean? So from here to Miami, Cancun. Renting out the whole jet. You know, it's stuff that people still ain't doing to this day.
Exactly.
But through all the flexing and balling out, Meech stood on something way deeper. Loyalty, family, unity. That was the BMF code. But once they climbed to the top, the family bond started to crack. Meech and Southwest T started butting heads hard. Loud, public blowouts, nasty fights. It got so bad, Meech accused T of straight up stealing from the empire. That wasn't just beef, that was full-on war. Eventually, the split came. T moved out to LA to hold down the Mexican connects. Meech stayed in Atlanta, running the clubs and keeping the streets hot. And that division, it spelled doom for BMF.
U.S. Marshals say this man, one of Atlanta Police Department's top 10 most wanted, and a member of an organized crime family, is now behind bars. U.S. Marshals tell me they arrested 37-year-old Ernest Dennis and 40-year-old Jonathan Manigo here outside of Buckhead Hotel. Both men, they say, are members of the so-called Black Mafia family, or BMF.
Anyone tied to BMF typically has an extensive criminal history. So we consider them to be very violent.
Investigators say the organization BMF is heavily involved in drug trafficking and has been in Atlanta at least since 2004. At that time, federal agents seized this limo with secret compartments that had almost $1 million hidden in.
By the year 2000, Meech had his eyes locked on a bigger prize, the music industry. That's when BMF Entertainment was born. And y'all, with his natural swagger, flashy lifestyle, and endless cash flow, Meech fit into hip-hop like he was born for it. Money, fame, straight up excess everywhere he touched. BMF wasn't just a street empire anymore, it became the hottest movement in rap. Everybody wanted a piece. Diddy, Jay-Z, T.I., even 50 Cent. All of them were hanging around Meech, partying, trying to soak up that aura. Meech's flexes, man, people still talk about them. From shutting down VIP sections with 100 deep crews to parking 2 Maybachs next to Jay-Z's just to make a statement. Meech wasn't moving regular. He was moving like a legend. And yo, one of the wildest BMF stories, that insane jungle-themed birthday bash at Magic City. Meech pulled up with 2 white tigers just chilling in the middle of the club like it was another Saturday night. Who was doing it like that? Nobody. But while BMF was glowing up, that split between Meech and T was eating them alive from the inside. T wasn't feeling Meech's wild ways anymore. He started venting to family and close friends. And here's the kicker. The feds were listening the whole time. Every whisper, every complaint, recorded. Meanwhile, Meech was throwing million-dollar parties without a clue that the walls were closing in fast. Undercover agents were posted up at his parties, low-key watching, plotting, waiting for the perfect moment to bring everything crashing down. After a grueling 15-year investigation with the feds, IRS, and local task forces all working together, they had everything they needed. 900 pages of wiretaps, snitch statements, bank records, surveillance footage. It was an airtight case nobody could escape. And in 2005, it was game over. They swooped in and snatched up Big Meech, Southwest T, and 150 BMF affiliates in a giant sting that that shut down one of the biggest street empires hip-hop had ever seen. But y'all, listen, even before the takedown, Meech saw it coming. When the feds grabbed T first, Meech actually had a real shot to dip. He could have crossed the border, laid low in Mexico, and disappeared forever. But nah, Meech stood tall. He first slid down to Miami, trying to stay off the radar, but eventually the feds caught up with him in Frisco, Texas. And when they came for him, they didn't just stop at Meech and T, they dragged the whole family into the mess. Their dad, their sister, even their girlfriends. Anyone whose name was tied to properties or businesses used to clean BMF's money. Nobody was safe once the heat turned up. The feds saw an opportunity for leverage. They threw a brutal offer on the table. Take full responsibility or watch your family rot behind bars. And guess what? Meech and T didn't hesitate. They stood on business, protecting their loved ones without a second thought. But the punishment? It was brutal. The feds slapped Meech and T with charges under the same continuing criminal enterprise statute they used to crush old-school kingpins. Both brothers pleaded guilty, and each got 30 years federal time. T caught a crazy break during the COVID-19 pandemic and got released early in 2020 to finish his sentence on house arrest. But Meech? Man, they shut him down. Even when he had real health issues, they denied him compassionate release. Cold-blooded. Finally, after almost 2 decades behind bars, Big Meech walked free in October 2024. But it wasn't no Hollywood ending. He's still under heavy restrictions, still finishing out his time. And guess what? Even locked up, even after the empire fell, BMF didn't die, it turned into legend. Their names stayed alive in the streets, in hip-hop, in pop culture. Every new interview, every new rapper referencing them, BMF stayed iconic. 5 years after the bust, Big Meech's story went pop culture heavy with the release of Mara Shalhoub's book, BMF, The Rise and Fall of Big Meech and the Black Mafia Family in 2010. Then Rick Ross came through with his hit single, BMF Blowin' Money Fast, putting Meech's name in everyone's mouth worldwide. And then by 2020, off the strength of that legendary status, 50 Cent and Stars launched the BMF TV series. It was a huge move, and to make it even crazier, Big Meech's real son, Lil Meech, played his own father on the show. Talk about full circle. The series blew up, and by 2022, 50 Cent even dropped an 8-hour documentary, BMF documentary, Blowing Money Fast. In 2023, 50 announced 3 new BMF spin-offs and even teased a 3rd season. BMF wasn't just surviving, it was bigger than ever. But just when it looked like Meech's legacy was bulletproof, bam, one viral photo flipped the whole script. Big Meech linked up with Rick Ross right after getting out. They took a picture together. And y'all, that photo broke the internet, and it kicked off a massive fallout between Meech and 50 Cent. And trust, 50 didn't bite his tongue. He clapped back immediately, accusing Meech of being a snitch and even threatening to shut down the entire BMF series. Messy, messy, messy. Meech stayed mostly quiet through the whole drama. But one thing he made loud and clear, he never snitched. Period. Still, 50 wasn't letting it go. He doubled down, claiming he had real paperwork proving Meech worked with the feds. But here's the thing, a lot of people weren't buying that narrative, because that so-called paperwork, it's been floating around for years. And even then, it doesn't actually label Meech as a government informant directly. Now here's where the mess gets even messier. Even if Tammy Cowan, Meech's old associate, cooperated and helped reduce sentences, that doesn't automatically mean Meech was involved. If Meech didn't know or authorize Tammy to snitch, it's not on him. It's a technicality, not a betrayal. But now 50 Cent's son is jumping into the mix, pushing the idea that Meech knew everything, that he was feeding Tammy info from inside the walls. Meanwhile, real dudes like Gangster Williams, who were in the trenches with Meech, are standing tall, swearing Meech never folded. Never. So now the streets are asking, why is 50 and his son pushing this snitch narrative so hard now? If this paperwork been out for years, why was 50 cool building a whole empire around BMF and Big Meech? But now suddenly it's a problem because Meech linked up with Rick Ross. Is it really about loyalty, or is 50 just being petty because he feels played? Man, the drama is hot. What y'all think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget, like, share, and subscribe if you're rocking with the real stories. Catch y'all next time. Catch y'all next time.